See, it doesn't count as stone. It's just like live.
It's like,
That's
fucking
why
go.
it's funny because most of the time in the screenshot, it's a first moment of me going like this.
I know. I love it though. I have been taking pictures of the screenshots to save them to make like a photo on the wall. Because me like this and you like this.
And then it immediately goes into us just being like, hi. I'm like laughing for a minute. Yeah.
All right. So
Welcome everybody. Anyway. Stop
Get it
laughing.
together, Ashley. Ashley!
Stop laughing. You're making me laugh. Okay, so joy in a pandemic.
Ta-da!
So let's talk about what inspired this topic, because we have 3 different guests coming on today. What's been going on around you that you feel like this is needed, other than the fucking obvious, please?
It's not necessarily what's going on around me per se, because I've really, and it sounds, this is the part that probably brought it up, is like it almost sounds sick to say that I found joy in this time of more solitude, in this time of really being with oneself. And it almost sounds sick to say. So I think that's kind of the topic. How do we remain in joy? How are we allowed to be in joy? Is it selfish? Is it cruel? And I just really think that, and we have so many like amazing people coming on today, amazing, powerful women. Talk about like being in joy during this time is kind of essential to like raise the vibrations of this universe, of this life experience.
Oh, completely. And I see that the people that are like living their best life now and finding their joy, like I hear that other people are like shaming them and they're like, how dare you? Like, I cannot work and you are in joy. How dare you not be fucking upset like me? And it's just like, sometimes we actually need such a variety of things. Like, how much do we count on those other people that aren't in the same place as us to fucking give us a hand out and like really pull us out? I don't mean hand out like that, but you know what I mean. And so that is like a thing. And I really want people that are connecting with this, if they feel like they've been dimming their light to make other people more comfortable, we have to talk about that, because that is not helping anybody. That's not helping you. That's not helping the person that's struggling. And I just really want people to take away from this that like, it is actually their responsibility, if they're finding joy and connecting with joy and building up a business and connecting with abundance in a time like this. Now is like the time for them to really come out. People need that right now more than ever.
And I think it's definitely about pulling people up that aren't aware of like their energy or frequencies or like their joy or where they're at, to definitely pull them out, not to be like, ha, 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 I'm doing so great. And like, you know,
well, yeah, I mean, of course.
Well, I know you know, but I'm just stating that for other people. And like, you know, with like the whole civil movement that's going on at the same time, like Bree had said it on one of our first podcasts, like, you know, it's so severe and it's so heavy, but at the same time, look at people finally speaking up and finding their voice. So it's not to discount all the things, the challenges and like the darkness is being exposed for the first time, but people are finding their voice. People are standing up now, you know. Unfortunately, some people seem to be dropping back, but people are getting up and getting stronger and looking for unity and looking for that joy. And how do we really embrace that and understand that we don't have to like, shh, be quiet, like I'm happy right now. And it's, you know, the world's in a fucking pandemic and it's, you know, civil movement's going on and we're in election season. No, like raise your joy and help other people find their joy. And that's why the 3 women that are going on today, and you, like, I'm just going to be an audience member. I'm going to take notes because you three and well, the 3 women and you are just fucking killing it.
Thank you. They are. Like, honestly, I think that this is like, I don't really even know exactly where this is going to go, because I have a feeling as well that each of like their 3 stories and how they're really connecting with their abundance and with their voice and their power in this time. I love that it's actually like 3 different experiences, like 3 different very types of personalities. So I feel like there's going to be something here that if you're listening, you were like absolutely meant to hear this, that there's something that you need to know, that with these like powerful voices that are coming in, it's really going to show you where you're not really exploring your own edges. Because I know that there's a lot of people being sort of backed into a corner, and that is exactly what it takes for them to be like, okay, I'm not in victim anymore. I'm in creator mode now, bitch. Like, I'm going to go live all the time and share my message, because now I really like see how much my voice is needed, how much like my unique impact is needed. It's like, you can't ignore it anymore. So.
And I personally do love that it is 3 women in addition to you, because I feel like women always have to like be the matriarchs of the group, and you know, the healers and the protectors, and take everyone else's like wounds and pains. And I really love that it's women that are being successful, that are being outspoken, that are being loud, that some of them being bitches and like really getting into their own power. So I'm excited to hear women's voices in particular. You know how?
Yeah. So it's not just like the one woman and the 4 other guys, but it's like actually reverse this time.
You know how we've been on that kick in conversation lately, and I love it.
Oh yeah. Yes. We just expect from us that we're really going to talk about women being the more powerful sex and how men are just trying to keep them down in their different ways. That is coming. That is coming. And we're looking for who we're going to bring on. It's going to be some amazing women for that one. But if you guys are watching, say hi. Like, we are real people. Even if you're seeing us on YouTube Live right now or on Facebook and you don't know who we are, we're actually real humans. And we want to connect with you. They're going to be on to my alienness, right? I'm talking about it too much.
One human and an alien.
Oh yes, Crystal is watching. She's talking about divine feminine. Crystal absolutely has to be a part of that conversation.
Crystal needs to be a part of a lot of conversations. You know, a shout out to my friend Crystal and her, you know, dear souls, you know, everything she's doing with that. More to come from that, you know, finding your sexual power. I love everything she's doing.
Yeah.
But anywho,
she's amazing. She's like, Crystal, girl, I was watching you live and I was like, wow, like, you just like are amazing, and everything that you say is magical. And I am excited for us to like talk to you soon. But anyway, let's get ready. Well, Andy's gonna come in and she has more time. We're not gonna bring her in just yet. So what have you been doing? We have to refocus ourselves, because I feel like you and I are very distractible until the guests come, and I feel like they sort of keep us in check and in line.
Well, I kind of want to talk about some of the things you've been doing to find your joy in pandemic, Miss Ashley.
Yes.
So
for me, and this is actually a big deal, you guys, for those of you that don't know me, I feel like there's certain things that, as much as I seem like open because I have like fucking turquoise hair, there's certain things that I like don't share with people, because I'm just like, well, that crosses the line. Or like, what is my mom gonna think? And then I'm like, oh, my mom isn't even watching. But I actually have started smoking weed as of March. As soon as all this was starting, I was like, yep, we're going to go to whatever the medical marijuana place that looks like a fucking Apple store is down the street. And like, that is happening. If we are like stuck inside with our kids for the time to come, working from the house, like, yep, that was a thing that was like on the, like, oh, should we? It's like legal here in Cal. Should we do? Is that bad? Well, we should do it. Yeah. Oh, and it's like the best choice I've ever made. Like, are you kidding? I feel like, and the more that I like learn about it, and then other people are talking about it, like, it's amazing. Yeah. And I feel like I also want to talk about it so that there's no like shame around it anymore, because like, fuck that conditioning and all the things that we were showed with like the reefer madness and how it's bad. And I'm just like, I'm just not about however I was conditioned. Like, I'm like really letting go of a lot of that right now. And I mean, I already do oracle cards and things like that. So I feel like, I mean, if there was like a level of like inappropriateness and like judgment from, you know, conservative, ultra conservative people, I feel like I've already like passed that skill. They've already unfollowed. So I think we're good, right?
Yeah, and if not, fuck it. I mean, that was your grand statement, like, fuck it, you know? And like,
yeah.
The conversation.
That was really our text this week, right?
Yeah, and the conversation was like, from my viewpoint, like, I come to this as a member of the recovery community.
It's 11:11 right now, by the way, everybody.
Pay
as
attention.
we're talking about giving less fucks, it is 11:11. So noted, at least in our time zone. So it counts for you if you're listening. Yeah. Go ahead.
But what I was going to say is, as a member of the recovery community, like, I fully support this notion. And, I personally cannot, to thy own self be true, I cannot engage. It will lead down dark alleyways for me, but fuck yeah. Like, and I have been like pushing you for like a long time, like, smoke weed, Ashley, like, smoke it, so
you're a normie. You're not an alcoholic. You just need to get on the weed wagon.
So I'm fully supportive of this. I am a member of the recovery community. It's not for me. It cannot be for me. That's me living my own personal truth. But you,
okay, you've said the fine print now. Everyone knows that you're not engaging, so you're good. There's no one that's going to be questioning you.
Bitch, I was trying to make it more clear that, like, being in the recovery community doesn't mean that you have to be this stout, like, pristine, like pure being and be like, oh my God, you shouldn't drink or smoke weed. I can't smoke weed. You smoke all the fucking reefer that you want responsibly. So I'm trying to make that clear that, like, sometimes I felt that when I first started dating, like, everyone's going to think I'm so boring and that they can't drink around me or they can't smoke weed. It's not about that. It's about my journey with alcohol. It turns very dark and toxic. But for other people, like, bang it out. That's what I was trying to say. So
I got you.
All right.
Yeah. And I think it's kind of funny because it's like this super, like, spiritual but sober gay man and this, like, suburbia, like, white woman, like, housewife who smokes weed and has, like, rainbow lightning bolts.
You're slightly gayer than me.
Am I higher on the gay scale?
You are. Like, you were telling me before, like, a little behind the scenes. So she was telling me I need to gay it up a little more for our straight women audience. I was like, honey, you got the boy card, like, in the bag. So I'm gonna try to straighten it up a little bit more.
Oh my gosh. Well, I want to bring in Andy, and I'm gonna have her introduce herself just a little bit. But I feel like some of the things that you might hear is, like, definitely some honesty, being that Andy was, like, with the coronavirus, like, also in, like, the craziest place, like, being in New York. And also with all of the Black Lives Matter movement stuff going on, also building a business at the same time and just being a magical human. Like, I mean, so I'm going to add you in right now. Hi.
Hello. Good to see you.
Gorgeous. How are you, baby?
What? Me? Hello. How are you both?
Oh, it's so good to see you, baby.
Will you do an introduction to just, like, who you are, what you do now? Because I want it to come from you, because you are many different things. And I also want to give you, like, a moment just to share whatever you're inspired to share right now.
Absolutely. How many jobs does Andy have this week? One never knows. I'm Andy Chinadu, also Andrea Nwoke, which is my real legal name. I am an empowerment and leadership coach, and that's the business I'm building right now, which is insane at this insane time of the world, but it's also been amazing and is a true passion project, but it's been difficult, can't even lie. But it's also brought me a sense of purpose. Some people also know me as an opera singer. There's that double life kind of going on.
You can tell by how you say hello, Andrea, by the way. You're like, hello.
And I get in trouble for being like, hello, friends. Sorry, Andy.
No, it's okay. It's okay. So I have this duality, and I worked in the corporate world for a long time as well. So I actually bring all of myself to coaching, which has been so amazing, because I found in my previous years of living in New York and doing adult life, When I was an opera singer, I was an opera singer, and I had my name for that. And when I was in corporate, I was corporate, and I had my name and persona for that. Embarking on this journey of being a coach and empowering others has brought me full force. It brings every part of me to what I do, to what I put out into the world, hopefully what I bring to my clients. And my God, it's just been a wonderful journey, but certainly a difficult and strange time to embark on all of that.
So have you been like really joyful just through all of this the entire time? Like, tell us like real life, like what your experience has been in this, if you're open to it.
I'm way open. I will ugly cry right here live.
Please do. We're late.
Am I joyful? Have I been joyful? The answer is yes, in many ways. And gosh, that feels like a
sin almost,
sometimes
right?
It's like an irresponsible thing, a bizarre thing to say. Every day, all the time? No. When Corona first really hit New York, early March, but then, I mean, the mess of it in April with the trucks and the sort of anxiety that set in, it was terrible. It was horrible. And it was just a scary time. It was horrifying. And in the span of that week of March 13th, I think it was a Thursday or Friday, whatever, all of my jobs vanished. I've always considered myself very smart in having a diversified income and things sprinkled in all these different arenas. And yet, as with most of the country, just vanished, right? Just gone. And I would be lying if I said I didn't sort of lie on the floor and feel sorry for myself for a few days. I mean, it was really like, I've got no money, can't get through unemployment. What am I going to do? And just feeling sorry for myself. And then when did the joy come in peaks and valleys? I had to really just say, okay, what am I going to allow to infiltrate my home? If I'm to be stuck in my home, this 500 or so square feet of my home, what's allowed in? I can control that. So I turned off the news. It felt irresponsible. Sometimes I disconnected from the internet. It felt irresponsible. But we live in an age where I could still get information, right? If things were on fire, I was still going to hear about it, and did. But that preserved my own sense of sanity. And that was helpful for a while. I was allowed to at least start to build the background of my business, all the logistics that people don't see. And that felt productive, which is a land I like to live in. I love a good spreadsheet. So that was helpful. And then George Floyd happened, and everything blew up with the Black Lives Matter movement, which I don't even know where to begin. So painful, so devastating. But also I felt this sense of confliction because it was being looked at and talked about even still as a movement and as this current event, except it's always been always. And it was incredibly frustrating to watch people go, oh, I hear you now. And I'm like, I've been screaming my whole life, whatever. So that was terrifying. But I knew I couldn't afford to fall apart. I knew that I could not afford to fall apart because I got in touch with my purpose, what I believe to be my own purpose. And I think that I've always had this intrinsic need to help others and to speak up for others and to empower others. And the more I connected to that purpose, the more I really held strong to that, the more I could go, okay. If I connect to my purpose, if I give to others, I can have some semblance of joy. I can get up. Maybe I can't get off the floor for myself today, but I will do it for someone else. And that just started this roller coaster of being able to find some happiness and some light in the world. And I got to tell you, my clients are remarkable people, and they are making huge strides in spite of all their different social and socioeconomic places in the world right now. And nothing gives me more joy than to be able to bear witness to their journey and to somehow support their journey in a small way. So that's given me a ton of joy. I also think the word joy is a little bit loaded, maybe. That if you had said that to me 4 months ago, that felt like a huge word. Like, that's bigger than happiness. That's bigger than so many things.
I want to just point out, like, that, like, when I'm in the presence of like these just like beautiful, amazing souls, and I'm like hearing them like speak like from their heart about doing things that are so much bigger. Like, this happens a lot, you know. And I just want to point out that, like, just being in your presence and hearing you speak from that place is like really moving me. And like, people that listen to this later on podcasts and can't see the audio, like, my eyes, I'm just like, that for me is also joy. I've been experiencing a lot of moments like that, of joy, of being in the presence of women like you, of other individuals like you, that despite what's going on, that they are like really like rising like no other, to be like, it's not just about me and this is bigger than me. And I'm going to create from this. I'm going to step into my role as powerful creator and not allow anybody to make me victim anymore. And I'm going to say, with this challenge, what will I create? What am I going to create from this, using my voice and my power? Because I see it now. And like, I am having that experience with you. I am seeing that being your journey, and like, witnessing that gives me joy right now. And I just want to name that.
Well, and I have so much joy in knowing you. I mean, we've had a few texts where I feel like there's this exchange of joy happening. But that's the thing. I think by connecting to a sense of joy for myself, a sense of giving, then I give it to you, then you bounce it back, and it becomes this dance, right? We're dancing together, and we're dancing with the world. And I think that what you give off has an impact. Just one person has impact. So you can carry weight and give ugly to the world, or you can give your joy.
I'm hypnotized by Andy. I just truly am right now. Sorry, Ashley, I know you had a tearful moment, but it was all about Andy right now. Like,
yeah.
I love what you said about like how it starts with service for others. You know, that's the majority of my spiritual life. And that, you know, the word joy is so much bigger than happiness. Yeah. But if we plug into joy, it's not just a self-serving joy. It is like, you know, we want a God consciousness, a universal flow, you know, and was the starting point for me to get the fuck out of that pain, to get out of that self-serving, I'm in so much pain, was like, I got to think about other people. And I love that got you back up off that floor and led to you thriving. Because I'm
totally thriving. There's a sense of guilt I've noticed that people have right now in this era of pandemic, like something good is happening. I shouldn't say. I've done that myself. I've not told friends about exciting things that are happening because I'm like, how dare I have some happy? But you know what? You can and have the right and should have a duality. Having joy does not negate a sense of awareness about what's going on around you. It does not mean that you're existing in denial. You can have both. We should have both. Human beings are so complicated and complex and beautiful. You should have both.
You know? And I don't know if they talked about it in your like coursework, but Andy and I actually have the same training, so we kind of speak the same little coachy coach language. But I remember that they talked about like our capacity for joy, like directly reflected like how like our lowest of lows, that like every time people had a different low, like it expanded their range, and that they can actually experience a new high. And so that always like stuck with me, of like how that worked, and how there was always this sort of beauty even down in the mud of these other feelings and emotions. I don't know if that's interesting or if you've noticed that.
I think that's absolutely true. I think, okay, here I'm going to nerd out for a minute, but there is a principle in singing and in voice called chiaroscuro, darkness and light, lightness and darkness. And it's this idea that the most beautiful sound, the most balanced sound, has some darkness in it and some light in it. It's like a yin and yang, if you will. And I think I'm still developing my principles on the world, but I think that the most informed souls, the most thoroughly developed personalities and hearts and senses of empathy are those that can experience and appreciate the chiaroscuro, the darkness and the light, and live on both extremes, explain and define both extremes, come to the middle, let it blend, let it be gray, but understand that through darkness comes light, and from light we then have to appreciate dark. If it was all light, it means nothing. Everything can't be wonderful, or it's not.
Actually, I nominate Andy as your new co-host. I'm just gonna comment. I'm just gonna write some questions and just watch you talk. Because Andy, like, you're fucking amazing. And oh my god,
you're amazing.
You're amazing.
You know what impact you had on me, and those, I'm not going to tell all my business, but getting me to manifest about a certain part of my life has also brought some man joy. So, I love you, and I'm in debt to you.
Well, you need to come back to the round table like all the time. Like, even though I'm just gonna be like dumbstruck by the two of you when you're on, but come to the round table all the time. Like, fucking keep thriving, girl. I'm so fucking. You excite me. You brought me joy today.
Oh, thank you for having me. This is my first ever podcast, and I'm loving it. Thank you.
Well, thank you, baby.
How can people find out about you if they're listening and they're just like, oh my God, I need some more Andy in my life? Like, where would they go to find out about you?
Let me get my pen and paper. Hold on.
Okay, so for right now, find me on my Facebook page, Anwoke, ANWOKE. Stuttering to spell your own name? We wonder about that. ANWOKE Consulting Facebook page. I'll after my turn is over, I will go in and put it in the chat, as well as my email address, so folks can find me. I'd love to connect, just to chat or to coach or what have you, but let's build each other up. That's what I'm all about. My business is about empowering others. Come on up. The fishing is fine for everybody. Everybody gets a seat at the table.
It's enough pie for everyone.
Yeah.
Pie for everyone.
Yeah.
No, you take anyone else's pie, there's enough pie for everyone. People forget that.
No, there's pie aplenty. Not at my house, because I would eat
infinite pie.
There's pie.
Ashley might have a blood piece, so she might need some pie right now.
All right. Bye,
Andy.
Andy.
Thank you so much.
See you soon.
Bye, thank you.
She's just amazing.
I know, right?
Amazing.
So I know we have a little bit of time before Lucinda will be popping in here. It's interesting about like this integration of the light and the dark, because I think I started to tell you maybe a few times ago that I had something come in during a meditation, that I had this like specific thing that ended up being an actual technique, and it was about merging the duality of emotions. And so I've started playing with this, like with myself, and then also sort of just sharing it with other people and clients, that there's always, like, if I'm feeling an extreme low, that there's always an opposite of it, that essentially, like how Abraham talks about, that like this, if the problem's created, the solution has to always be created, because there's always duality. And so the technique, it's called the Peat Method, or the PEAT, and it's the primordial energy primordial energy activation transmission. And so like when I have an incident where I was feeling so embarrassed by something that happened, because my kids were just going fucking nuts, and I was trying to be in this professional thing. I think I slightly mentioned it. And so I knew that there was an opposite way, but like it basically just allows it to come in, instead of a lot of our resistance comes from when we're feeling things that are negative, that we try to push it out. We're like, I can't be sad right now. Like, I have to be happy. And we try to push out the experience and change it. But this technique uses something, and it always starts out by saying, like, even though I feel sad and hopeless, I completely love and accept myself. And like, just saying that actually, and like it really brings this sense of allowing in that you're actually fine, you're okay, and it's actually good for you to be with like those emotions. And we use that principle in coaching as well, that you're not actually meant to push out the experience, but fully just be with it without judgment. It's when we fucking start judging what that means for us to be there and resisting the moment that's creating all the problems. And so usually it's talked about that sense of letting it flow through us. I feel like we started maybe talking about this on another time, but
we did.
Yeah, it's important. I feel like people need to understand this concept right now.
Well, I mean, with the part about Hicks and the teaching was like the stick. I think you're referencing that a little bit, and it's very important to realize that like if you're in a certain emotion, that you don't just try to jump to like the other extreme. It's like working up the way. And I love how Andy said, like, you know, she's just like on the floor, she's down for the count, you know. And we don't go like, I'm gonna be happy right now and just like fake it until we make it, which like that's bullshit advice. Like you don't fake it till you make it. You work your way up that emotional stick or ladder or whatever you want to call it to get to the actual joy. And I love that Andy was referencing that it started with service for others, because that has absolutely been what has pulled me through some of the rockiest times, the most challenging times during this whole awakening. So I love that.
So I see Lucinda popping up in our waiting room. So we're going to pull her into the stream. Yay! Hi!
Yay! Hi, Lucinda!
Hi, how are you guys doing?
I get so happy whenever I see you. Like, that brings me joy.
Right?
Are you in your beautiful studio, or are you home right now?
Yes.
Okay.
So, yeah. Yeah. So, I even have, like, a mic.
She's all pro.
Well, we had to figure out how to eliminate a lot of the traffic sound in the back. I've never used Yardstream. This is awesome for me.
Yay! So
you're looking extraordinary, Lucinda.
I'm sorry, extraordinary?
You're looking extraordinary. You look vibrant.
Thank God, because if I wouldn't have pulled the blinds up, we would have all been like, it would have been like a zombie march. I was like, oh my God, what is this writing on this program? What is that? I don't even have like my highlighter in front of me. And oh Lord, yes.
Well, full disclosure, Ashley had to buy me a light because our first time we light together. I was like in the dark, like, you know, Gollum like peeking out, and she like sent me a light.
She's like, honey,
I'm doing really good. I'm doing really good. Yeah, got you. And then I look over and I see like my glasses and I go, oh yeah, that's the reality right there.
Will you tell people just a little bit about you, Lucinda, just like who you are and what you do?
Sure. That's always such a loaded phrase right there. So, okay. All right. It depends, because like it's kind of a catchphrase for me. So my name is Lucinda Cullis, and I'm a founder and co-owner or owner of Body Studios, and it's an art and meditation studio. So I perform a lot of art and meditation within the facility, but I'm basically just one of those basic. No. Basically,
you could say anything like you want here, by the way.
So I'm trying to look for easy language, right? So for me, I guess I could say that like I'm a clairvoyant medium, but actually what I do is I work with a lot of energy. And so I just have an ability to read energy and sense through it, no matter how many layers there are and wherever it lands and stuff like that. So that's what I do a lot of.
We don't want the basic. We want all the like as weird as possible here.
Really? Oh,
yeah.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah,
all
that's
right.
what we're going for.
You're far from basic.
All right. So then let's go for
yeah.
All right. Yeah, because I'm not basic. I am not basic. I was really trying to be basic because I want to make sure that your audience was okay with it, but I don't want anybody tuning out, right? Okay. So here's the deal. I see invisible stuff, right? And so because I see invisible stuff, people have a tendency to want to ask me questions about that invisible stuff. Like, I don't know, maybe sometimes I could see something on somebody that looks like, I don't know, like black goo or something. And I'll just pull it off and I'll say, oh, hey, how's it going? You know, and I just do it automatically sometimes. And I have the most interesting feedback. Like, what was that? and they didn't see it or anything like that, but they can definitely sense the difference. So working with energy has a lot to do with that. Making choices, that's like really what it comes down to. So I help people make choices.
Let's talk about that.
Like a lot of,
because the joy
so I help
in the
people make choices.
pandemic,
That's basically what it is.
how is that tied into? Because the joy in the pandemic, I feel like there are some choices that we're having to make right now about what energy we're choosing to experience. Like, so I would love to hear whether you want to share your story or like how you've been like working with people and really connecting with that frequency.
Is she frozen?
Is she frozen? I don't know. She might be
like,
pondering.
She's like channeling some shit. But I think she might be.
It's an epic pose though too. Like how it froze.
She looks very wise and deep in thought.
I know. I think it is frozen, Lucinda. I'm not sure. Oh, I think it's coming back.
There we go.
It's back. I think we could see you.
So
okay.
Was I gone or were you gone?
Maybe both. You never know.
That's a very, very deep question.
Right? This is like so crazy. So last night we were trying to do some recording, right? And we're using the Wi-Fi connection and everything. And it was like really stuttery and stuff. And we hadn't really thought about it too much because we've really relied on it heavily. And you know how it goes. Like you're like, yay, this is great. And there was like a huge outage in Los Angeles. I mean, like all of Los Angeles for Wi-Fi was experiencing this. So it was very interesting.
My was trying to go live last night. My husband was trying to go live and it wasn't working for him and he was getting frustrated. Sometimes I get the sense, am I just making up that there might be other energies sometimes trying to like stop the light worker feeds that like we should be clearing before we do things like that? Or am I just making that up?
I got my Palo Santo. I'm just saying. So for me, it's like it is usually a big production anytime I do it because energy is energy, right? So you're asking me about an energetic field that exists and it's something that everybody takes for granted, but because it transforms into a tangible, they don't look at it as energetic, right? Yep. But it is, it's like Wi-Fi. Hello. Yeah. So it's very much a frequency, a vibrational offering. So in that vibrational offering, if there is disruption, there is definitely another vibrational offering that's being offered at the same time. Does it have to do with how we feel, what the location is, all kinds of things, because we're tuning our dials into a particular signal. So as we do that, the alignment that we're feeling is going to be disrupted if certain personality energies get involved, right?
Yeah.
So what do I mean by what I learned was, yeah, let's real talk. So what I mean by that is that I'm experiencing heavier entity traffic that would be undesirable for me, right? And what I mean by that is more disruptive energy. And so I look at the planets to see like what the alignment is, because there is something about a celestial body that's in physical form that comes in proximity to our planet that causes us to experience different mood swings and emotions, right? And those mood swings and emotions are all energy. It's an energetic barometer for like who we are and how we have our experience. So you have the planets, we have the comet that just basically finished on the 23rd. The Neowise comet won't be back for 6,800 years.
Oh,
because it was like all about going really deep, right? And then you have the new moon that just, came up, and it's in Leo. So there's a lot of fire energy out there. So fire energy is about passion. It's also about conflict, and it's also about contrast, and it's also about like really getting into all that stuff, right?
I want to know from you what we should be doing maybe to like align and tune into that frequency of joy that maybe some of us are missing. Okay.
Meditation. Do a lot of meditation.
Yeah. More meditation.
So I think that, okay, so for me, what it would be is to actually call some of the things that you're already doing meditation, because like, it's really very resistant to start a new practice, right? And so calling some of the things that you already do meditation will change the mindset. And as you change the mindset, you go into this different state of relaxation. So like if you already water your garden, you call it watering, or if you walk, walking meditation. So yeah.
I discovered one the other day because I was sharing before you hopped in that I decided in March to start smoking weed and to talk about it as well, because we're going through this huge frequency shift, and universe also gave me some babies that I like make food for from my body, and like the normal meditation during this time. I'm just like, I think they're giving me a sign to smoke weed. Yeah. So I was cooking, I put in my AirPods and I put on some like shamanic drumming. I smoked some weed. I cooked dinner, and like I realized how much I enjoyed that experience, that it put me into this meditative state. And I started to get all of these downloads during that time because I had turned this activity into a meditation. And that was a real light bulb moment for me about how I arrange the things in my day and sort of like really are more intentional about it so that I can get into this flow. And so I really think that what you're sharing is so important for people to hear right now.
Yeah. Well, sometimes we have perceptions, right? So what the energy is about right now is like when it first started, when the pandemic first started. We'll just speak to that for right now. When the pandemic first started, there was this energy that came with it, right? And you could feel it worldwide as it globally traveled. So as it traveled, it was a call to action, and everybody thought it was going to be a state of doing. It's a state of doing. So you got to do something. You have to do something. You have to do something. And there was this push energetically that we all felt. It wasn't a tug, it was a shove. And what we came to realize is that you were going to become a state of being instead of a state of doing. So we're all divorcing ourselves from how we identify who we are. So we usually identify ourselves by what do you do? And, like, hey, what's your job? Where do you work? What is it that you do? And now it's more like, oh, I'm Lucinda. I'm really cool. I'm good. Right. And then like I'm a clairvoyant medium. Yeah, sure. Well, today I am. I'm an energy worker. Okay. Yeah, sure. Today. But mostly what I do is I tie bundles of sage and I just chill.
Oh my God. I want to talk to you about that because I feel like I have been really just focused on the being, and that usually when things are shifting around, I'm like, I got to go do this. I got to go and find my clients on Upwork and send these things. And lately I've just been like, no. Actually, I'm like, wait, I'm meant to create and tap into these creative frequencies and then get inspired and then share that. And then be like, oh, I'm doing this thing. You guys want to come have fun over here? Okay, let's go do that together. And I'm glad that I'm not the only one that's kind of feeling guilty. Like, I'm like, I feel like I should be working harder right now.
Okay, so go ahead, James.
Has a question.
I just wanted to say that I really love what you just said. It kind of hit me because we're talking about this last night. Like during the whole pandemic and the civil movement, everything like that, I really see people by how they
if you want to talk about that, we can talk about that too. No, go ahead.
But Andy really brought it to my attention, like the movement, like that's my own privilege kind of getting in there because it's always been. But I love that now I'm seeing people for how they react in the world. Are they, carrying a sense of depression, of anger, or are they of light? Or are they trying to be of joy? Are they trying to be of abundance? I don't see people for their job title anymore. I don't see people for the car they drive because no one's driving the car. No one's going to work. You're seeing people for the energy that exists within them. I mean, I don't know if that makes sense, but like it really hit me that like I haven't thought about my friends and what they do for work. I think about how they're existing in this moment right now. And that's been a big change in my life recently from everything that's going on.
Right. And you can only imagine how many identity crises are going on right now because we so think that we are what we do. And so we're going through all these shifts. These shifts are crazy, right? Yeah, these shifts are crazy. So let's talk about the protests and stuff that are coming forward, right? Mm-hmm. So now all of a sudden we've lost our identity, right? Mm-hmm. And now we want to be heard. All of us want to be heard all at the same time. We found out people are listening. So people are listening. Hey, this is our best platform. Let's go ahead and be very vocal. And so once we get vocal, then all of a sudden everybody wants to get vocal. And look how deep it has gone. This is probably the best, most successful civil movement that has happened in the United States to date that hasn't cost as many lives. I don't like life loss. I'm not into that. But it hasn't been a complete abomination to the sanctity of, or the sovereignty of who we are, right? And so we're finding out things. People are becoming willing to look at like where they stand, what they believe in, and like actually take into consideration like how somebody else is feeling, you know, rather than like it being all about me. But it becomes all about you because that's how you define things. And so it's just, you know, but like a lot of the energies that are mixed with both those things, right? So we're into this state of being. Okay, so now we're in a state of being, and then we want to be heard, and we don't want to go out there and ruffle feathers exactly, but we do want to, you know, have our imprint on it. And so just like lots of different things, but then it tends to make you really step back and notice the energy, like really notice the energy. You're looking at the feel of a building. You're looking at whether or not you want to pick up the phone and interact with that person because where they're at. You're talking about reading people, James. You're talking about reading people and their situations. So you're looking at the energy of it. You're going, oh gosh, man, that person's depressed. I wish I could just give them a big old hug. Well, right there, you just did. You just gave them a big old energetic hug. You gave them a boost of energy to, you know, make them able to get through a better portion of their day, whether you pick the phone up or not.
So I'm going to pull Janine in as well, because we have her up next. But while I pull her into this stream right now, there's Janine. Hello. Lucinda, can you put in the comments if there is a place where people can maybe find what you're doing? Because I also want people to know about what's going on at Body Studios and about channel panels. So if you wouldn't mind, like for the people that are watching on Facebook at least, if that's where you go after. We're on live on YouTube right now too. Just drop in some links because there's some amazing events that you can join virtually at Body Studios. So before we bring in Janine, I just wanted you to do that because you guys don't want to miss that.
God, listen, I could talk to you all day too.
I know.
Man.
I feel like there's an upcoming episode of things I want to talk to Lucinda about that have been resonating with James and I, and yeah, about how women are staying quiet because of like the concepts that's been brought forward about the witch, like in mainstream media, and how women are afraid to be like too witchy and powerful and do their fucking cards and things, and like how that is sort of like keeping all of these people quiet. Yeah, I could go off on that right now, but we'll talk about that, I think, with you.
Yeah, I just put I put a telephone number they can reach me at.
Well, thank you, Lucinda. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Okay, love you guys.
Bye.
Have
Much
a good
love,
day.
Hi.
Hi, my dear.
Beautiful.
Do you have headphones at all nearby that are within like grabbing distance?
Yes, I do.
I love your background. Sometimes it just makes for better audio quality. So if it doesn't disrupt too much, we'll just like.
See. I'm not sure though how to plug these into the.
It's okay. We're just gonna get nature sounds. It's gonna feel like meditation for people as they listen to us.
It was bad timing. The lawnmower started going here and everything, and I realized, oh yeah, I'm back in the U.S. in a place where all of the grass is mowed to be very clean. Coming back from Mexico. Yeah.
Well, share about like who you are. We were just talking about how identities are being stripped away. So however you define yourself at this point of 2020, what you're up to or who you're being. And that'll give people, I think, a good preface to like why we invited you for this topic.
Yeah, thanks for asking. So I am Janine Cohen, and I am a luxury and travel advisor, an adventure expert. At least that's how I've been known, talking about stripping away identities. I've done that for the last 15 years, and I've flown to the furthest corners of the planet on all kinds of wild and amazing adventures, and it's been incredible. And now, as you know, tourism internationally has pretty much come to a complete standstill. So that being said, I've been coaching and consulting for CEOs around the world, specializing who also are in tourism, helping them to pivot and think about how to strategically position their businesses. So that's been the shift for me.
Wow, that's pretty major.
Really major. And also, what's the other big thing that you decided to do, just like also in 2020, to just like do more extreme things in your life?
Well, I lived in Mexico, so I was doing a I was work. Is that the thing that you mean?
Yeah, because I mean, like you just got everything like changed in your life, like in 2020.
Yeah.
So yeah,
pretty much everything. My life, I would say, was kind of the same for at least a decade, and then I had some major shifts in 2019. A lot.
Are we going to talk about them? Like, how real are we going to be right now on a scale of like, we don't have to get that real, girl, but like, choose your own adventure here.
Shut up and let her get real, Ashley.
We can definitely get real with it. So, let's see. You want the real of it? So yeah.
We talk about it if it was just us, just some friends hanging out. Yeah.
Sure. So I got back I went on this incredible trip to Antarctica with a big group of friends in the early part of 2019, and it was amazing. And we went whitewater rafting on the biggest class 5 river in the world, the Futaleufú in Chile. And we went sailing in Patagonia and looked out at amazing stars. And we were in Antarctica on an expeditionary cruise. And it was a month-long trip. And I got back from that trip and my husband had left me. He had actually moved everything out of our house while I was gone. Wow. So that happened. And so I was kind of reeling from that. Ashley and I got to spend a little time together down in LA right after that big life shift. And I decided to pack up my life in California, and it was a dream of mine to live in Argentina. So I decided what better time to do it than now, or that was in 2019. So I went down to Patagonia and, after I cried in the bathtub and, had my moments. I flew down to Patagonia where I returned to where I had been when the split happened, the bottom of the world, the end of the earth, where I lived in a cabin in the woods for 4 months with nothing but a backpack. I was working during that time. I was still working remotely. My company graciously allowed me to work remotely. I did it from afar. I made incredible friends. I hiked to the top of every mountain around and sailed under the stars. My view from my window of my cabin had a view out onto the lake under the Andes Mountains, and I would watch the condors fly and watch for the wind picking up to know when I could jump down to the marina to go sailing. And then toward the tail end of that, my 32-year-old brother unexpectedly passed away. So I was already kind of reeling and trying to heal from traumas of my life. And then my brother passed. So I flew back to the US for obvious reasons. And then I came back for a week and I repositioned, went down to Mexico where I was also working remotely and working on a consulting project for many haciendas. So in terms of this whole change and everyone's reeling from change and everyone's identities are stripped away, I mean, I feel like I just kind of got a head start on all of that a year earlier. And so maybe, let's say, my superpower in allowing people to focus on the present moment and forward was out of my necessity to not look backwards. It was too painful in a way. And that kind of propelled me forward, if that makes sense.
Totally.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I can't wait till you write your fucking book and movie and screenplay. Actually, James is I think he might be the one that writes your screenplay, because I feel like I'm watching somebody kind of tell their life story at in a TED Talk kind of crowd. You're just very compelling, and I really want to encourage you to fucking be real with your story and to not edit it for other people's comfort. Yeah. And because you were very powerful in that moment. And so I just really want you to know that. And there's so many people that are going to experience something amazing from that. So you have a podcast that I feel like is sort of about being joy. She has the Everyday Magic Project. That's a really rad podcast that you should listen to. But how is that, like, everyday magic and this concept that you talk about, how does that have to do with you and finding your joy and reconnecting to joy?
Yeah, well, thanks for asking about that. So yes, I do have a podcast called the Everyday Magic Project, which is about harnessing the aliveness that we feel when we travel to have in our everyday lives. And what better time to be focusing on everyday magic than now, when none of us can travel anywhere. And so we're forced to find those moments every single day. And so for those who are in my travel industry, and I consider them to be kind of my extended network of friends and really family, we have all traveled around the world, flinging ourselves from here to there, different continents. And now we're forced to stay for a long period of time. And again, the podcast was kind of a precursor, I guess, to the reality. So I had been trying to convince myself for years of, why is it that we need to be flinging ourselves to the furthest corners of the planet to find magic? What would it be like if we could just experience that magic and see it every single day? And to know what it's like to be a tourist in your own day and see things as if you're seeing them for the very first time. So that kind of holding that sense of wonderment and having it every single day. And so on that podcast, I interview just people who I find inspiring from around the world, but who have also really compelling and really interesting home lives as well. So from big wave surfers to exploratory kayakers, artists, writers, poets, sailors. I've been blessed in that I've met some really incredible people, but really understanding what is it for them that makes everyday magic for them, and how can we learn from that?
Yeah, what have been some of the biggest learnings that you found in that area? Things that are like little things that we could go try today.
Yeah, thanks for asking that, because I've often thought that I should create like a magic manifesto to almost like Everyday Magic podcast cliff notes. But I think connection, really, of creating a sense of community seems to be at the core of all of it. So we are, what are we looking for when we're going to these places? And as US travelers, and the US market is one of the largest aside from China, I would really argue that we've lost something really essential in our culture with all of this kind of transactional culture that we've created in the States, that we've given something really critical up for that. And that is that really deep sense of connection and taking time with things, really taking your time, whether it's just to sit with a group of friends and have a glass of wine, or smoke a joint.
Yeah.
So spending time and really being intentional about creating that community. That was kind of the big story of this pandemic too, of, are you single? Are you in a couple? Are you alone? Like, the people who really had the hardest time with this were single people in cities, that is just like amplifies the loneliness. And I think there's a growing consciousness that it's not really the way that we're meant to live. I mean, we're tribal people. You can't rely on your partner for everything, right? You have to have a wide scope of relationships and options, and that's happiness.
Are we talking about polyamory now? Is that like another thing is that where we're going? I'm just
I mean, for some people,
not opposed.
You laugh, but it's not personally for me. It's not my thing, but that's kind
funny.
of
That's what it. I was just joking of like the language of it, because that is like, I feel like I see the younger generations doing stuff and that being like the norm, and I'm like, oh my God, that's totally the thing that my kids are going to do, that I'm going to be like, you young people are so weird with your polyamory and, open relationships. And I feel like whatever the young, like early 20s people are doing, those tend to be the things that like we need to get used to, because everything's being deconstructed right now. So I'm calling it. That's one of my intuitions. for
what I get from what you were saying, though, actually, we've had this conversation. You shouldn't try to find your happiness in necessarily people, but one person. Like you and I have such a separate relationship from your husband, and we feed each other in different ways. And that's this community. Is that like what you're getting more at? Like, we find these pockets of different relationships with different people, and we thrive when we're connecting as a tribe. I'm very much about, like, you know, we're supposed to be a human tribe, and yet we divide ourselves into different clumps. I get something different out of my relationship with Ashley than I do out of my friend with Jenna. And it's like, if I try to find that in one person and get all fucking codependent, misery is gonna eventually come for me. Because
some people are going to just tune in at the polyamory part and think that we're in a polyamorous marriage.
I mean, I'd be one blessed man.
We totally talked about that, though. We totally talked about that, like about how, like, when we were in our 20s, how, like, we're like, well, maybe we'll get married, you and I, and we'll just be in an open marriage where you could go find gay boys and I could go find other men who might actually be gay. I'm like, yeah, and that we would just have this very Sex in the City like life that's like reality show worthy. Well, I know we're definitely at time, and I'm sure Janine has something magical to go do, but I feel like there's a lot more conversations that I want to have with her at this roundtable personally. So hopefully she'll come back at some point and just be a unicorn like she is.
Where can we find your podcast?
Yes. How can people find this? Would you put it in the comments?
There's a lawnmower that just started going, which is just, it's so American. I'm in such intense reverse culture shock after 6 months of living on the beach in Mexico, in a remote area during a global pandemic. But I'm going to put it in the comments box for you now so that you have it. But it's the Everyday Magic Project, and it can be found on Spotify or iTunes. Sorry about it's so apropos, you know, to have a lawnmower. Like, I feel like it's the sound of America.
Thank you so much for your time, love.
Hi, I love you.
Love you.
Oh, that was so fun. I feel like this has been, I've had the most joy, like talking about joy today.
Are you trying to say this is thus far your favorite podcast?
I think so. Well, that's mean to say because I don't want the others to feel, but I feel like each time we're stepping into a different kind of sense of realness, and that as I step into my edges and like looked at, hey, am I showing up as restaurant manager Ashley, trying to make everyone comfortable and like in this very customer service way, or am I like going to my edges of the things that I've held back? And I feel like the more that I do that, the more I'm inviting other people into it, and that is way more interesting, at least for me.
I agree. You're way more interesting when you are touching all your naughty edges. But I'm excited because privately we have the conversations where I was trying to be very protective of your brand and your clients, and you were pretty much like, I didn't fucking ask you to do that. Like, just be you. So I think we're finding our footing. I do want to say, like, if anyone has topics that they're excited to talk about, like, I love hearing what people want to talk about, though, too. I got so excited by everything each one of those women were bringing up. Like, it could have branched off into a whole another podcast with each one of them.
I agree. And there's people in the comments. So, Andy, well, I mean, for those of you, I guess I'm going to have to figure out how to do show notes for a podcast. I could probably ask Janine where to put that. But at some point, I'll make sure that we'll be official once we have it launched at the end of this month on all the podcast platforms. I'll put their info in the show notes because they're all doing amazing things. Anything else that really wants to like come into this experience today before we end?
I mean, there just was like so many personal affirmations from each one of those women's about women's. Is that a word? But then women's that I personally needed to hear, and hopefully, like, there was some affirmations for anyone that may be listening. You know, because for me, God, the universe works through people. So some of the things Andy had to say, like some of the things Lucinda had to say, some of the things that our beautiful world traveler had to say, like it really resonated.
Her name's Janine. Janine.
Okay. All right. Fuck. But it really resonated with my own personal journey, like seeing people for their energy, not for, any kind of letters after their name or like their job title or where they live or what they drive, and trying to pull other people up. I definitely got that from Andy. And that sense of finding everyday magic. I don't need to go on vacation to see how magical the world is. It's magical all around me. So that's what I got.
Yeah. One thing that's really sort of cracking open inside of me is like, I do see myself like stepping more into that place of being versus doing. And Lucinda was really touching on that I see that instead of building my day from like a to-do list or things that I have to do, which there's times where I have like scheduled things of seeing clients, but that I just had the realization that like I'm a creative, that like I always have defined creatives as like people that made music or art. And that was one of the things that the universe would always try to bring to me through readings. And I was always like, but I don't feel like that is me. And that is something new coming in, is that I really need spaciousness because I am creating things. I'm creating things energetically. I am creating things that share a message, that share, a purpose and an intention, and that I need spaciousness like a creative would, and also time to be by my fucking self and to shut everything else out so that I don't overdraw sort of my pool of what I create from. That I really need to feed that, right? So that I can then sort of go out and create and be a creative, as much as I'm not being like creative in the sense that I've always defined it. So that's something that's like, I feel like linked with my joy, and I'm finding easier times getting there when I give myself that space.
Are these your closing thoughts? Are these like deep thoughts by Ashley Bradley? So should that be
I have a lot of
afterwards?
deep thoughts. Like I sometimes have to feel like I just need to turn my brain off so I could just like not think about random shit all the time. Yeah.
Well, I love you. I am excited to really brew on the topic of women and the role that's kind of been dictated to them in this world. I know some people are going to scoff at that, but I don't give no fucks. I know you're getting to the point. Well, you don't give no fucks, basically.
I don't. Any fucks that were given
are ungiven.
Yeah, we took them back.
The fucks have been refunded.
Honestly, like I almost see it as a challenge that I'm just like, I should set a goal of like getting a certain amount of people to unfollow me, like whereas most business people are like trying to get more followers. I want to be like, set that as the goal. Like, oh good, I had 5 unfollows today. That means I am really pushing the boundaries and the limits of who I am, because some people are getting uncomfortable. And our role is no more as restaurant managers was to make people comfortable, right? And to just be like, oh, the garlic mussels, they were too garlicky. Oh, I'm so sorry. Let me get you less garlic so you can be more comfortable. And so now,
actually does not speak for both of us. You don't have to follow me. But I get what you're saying. I think ultimately I want to empower people to live their fucking truth. And if other people are uncomfortable with living their truth or hearing us speak about truth, then they can, take the easier, softer route.
We're not going to do the soft way here.
Rough. All right. Well, I love you. Today's been very informative. Thank you for anyone that viewed during the live or afterwards. Please join us on our page on Facebook, if you will.
Follow us, subscribe. We do have a Facebook page that we need to get a little bit better at promoting. But if you search, I imagine, the Spiritual Rebels and Misfits Roundtable will come up, and there's going to be some opportunities to sort of engage and request guests and ask questions and share wisdom and all of those things. But we'll see you guys next week. We're going to be coming well, we might change the time. We'll let you know about that. But bye for now.
Love you all. Bye. Hey.